Now we're joined by Phar Kim Beng in Kuala Lumpur. He's a professor of ASEAN Studies at the International Islamic University of Malaysia. Great to have you back with us, Professor. Given that these talks are continuing even as airstrikes and shelling are being reported by both sides, is this a sign that the negotiations are failing, or is this a familiar pattern in border conflicts where diplomacy and fighting run parallel to each other?
I would embrace the perspective of the latter, that you can have negotiations concurrent to airstrikes. And one of the situations that best reflect that is none other than Gaza, when they were having negotiations on how to broker a truce, bombings were ongoing as well. So it's one of those peculiarity and the quirks of international relations where you can have negotiations ongoing, but at the same time, the chain of command is not fully absorbed by the commanders on the ground.
And we've been reporting the fact that the militaries from both countries are currently engaged in meetings for a third day now. The defence ministers of Thailand and Cambodia are supposed to meet on Saturday, but Thailand has said if no concrete agreement is agreed on Friday, it may pull out of that meeting. How confident are you that the two sides are close to reviving their ceasefire?
Well, first of all, as long as Thailand and Cambodia are engaged in talks, and we have to understand that this is actually an asymmetric warfare. In other words, Thailand outsized Cambodia significantly, and Thailand has a strong air force, whereas Cambodia doesn't. So in that sense, we are actually inching forward to some kind of resolution. But then precisely also because of the asymmetric nature of the warfare, it's not easy for Cambodia to just agree to every single requirements or even request made by Thailand. So there's a little bit of shifting and posturing, but nonetheless, the arms and ceasefire negotiation are being carried forward. And as the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, said, this is not as difficult as other conflicts because the Kuala Lumpur Peace Accord has already been agreed. What the two sides need to do is to comply with the terms and requirements or even finesse some of the terms and conditions that are stated in the protocol.
We know outside actors like the US President Donald Trump, Malaysia, the ASEAN regional bloc, and even China have tried to bring the two sides to stop their fighting, but we know those efforts appear to have failed. So how effective is it for external actors to be involved in this particular conflict?
Failure is a matter of optic, and I'm not trying to be very presumptuous in saying that. It's a matter of optic because prior to what we saw in the border clash between Thailand and Cambodia, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations that represent the whole of Southeast Asia, which is now comprised of 11 member states, hasn't had a war, a significant interstate war. You have eruptions of violence between the two countries, Cambodia and Thailand, in 2008 and 2011. But not as significant as the one that we have right now. So we have a long record of preventing neighboring states from actually coming to blows. And that record has been achieved from 1979 onwards, reducing combatant fatalities by 99%. So what we are seeing right now is actually an exception rather than the rule. Now, what is also interesting is that President Donald Trump has taken a role that is not as obvious as before, but so is Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim, who is the Prime Minister of Malaysia. But are the two of them trying to encourage the respective Secretary of States and Foreign Ministers to hammer out an agreement? Yes, they are.
Okay, Professor Phar Kim Beng, really good to get your thoughts as always. Thanks again for joining us.